Okay, good afternoon. All right, welcome to the Committee of Adjustment, Urban Panel 1. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances and consent to sever land. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centrepoint Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conferencing for our registered speakers. If you haven't been to one of these hearings before, please follow along closely. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Jocelyn Chandler. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me as chair. With me are my fellow members, Colin Haskin to my right, Arto Keklikin to my left, and Sharon Lecuyer and John Blatherwick are online. Hearings will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and the screen, possibly, the applications that will appear today. For efficiency, I am going to reorder them. Any of the sessions that have come in, we have read anything that you've said already. Today we'll hear any additional oral submissions, particularly if you have new information or as part of the public notification requirements, each applicant is required to post a sign. Do we have all set for declarations for sign posting?
Chair, we're missing statutory declaration for item 4, and we'll have to bring it in.
All right. For a brief presentation from the applicant and follow with questions, both the applicant and city planning staff. We will then hear from members of the public who have registered to speak. And finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to a final comment. Please address your comments directly to me as the chair. Start with your name and your municipal address for the record. All of this within 5 minutes and the countdown on the screen, and any exceptions will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel will make either an oral decision immediately or will reserve the decision, meaning we'll discuss the decision after the route is today. I think there's a 10-day time to publish any decisions.
Correct, motion.
Okay. Those decisions will, the written decisions and the circulated to all participants and anyone who has requested a copy. Okay, a few procedural matters. Are there any declarations of interest?
Madam Chair, I wish to declare in receipt extra copy for item number 6. It's Osgoode. It's the properties of the town.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We are going to start the order that we are going to do these applications are adjournments and then applications, and then those that need a little bit more discussion. So the first application we'd like in front of us is 122A Osgoode. And there's no one to speak to this. It is agreed that this will be adjourned sometime. Okay. The second one is for 574 Kirkwood. We're going to discuss whether this is an adjournment by this application or not. So, yeah. Would you like to get my full name and address record, please?
Yes, right.
Now, I understand that and another comments, you have submitted a revised site plan quite recently, and it addresses perhaps one of those comments. Would you like to speak to like the panel is
So thought maybe this would be best if you went back and had a discussion with planning staff to see if that resolved their concern. Any kind of be addressed. So we'd like you to speak to an adjournment.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think our preference obviously is to deal with it today, or we're here today, our client representatives here today, but I also know that we want to get this right. And if staff feel that an adjournment, the committee feels an adjournment is best, then we can proceed that way. Unfortunately, as you know, these staff reports come pretty close to committee hearing date, and so fortunately we weren't able to get them to maybe as well as we wanted to. We still do feel that we are able to present the application today, and that it's good planning and that we support it. So.
Okay, I'd like to hear from city staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. From a city staff's perspective, we would be open to hearing it if you decide to hearing it today. However, we do recognize that provided received very recently, and it is ultimately up to your discretion.
Have you had an opportunity to review this revised plan?
I have, yes.
Okay, are there any panel members who have any questions or concerns? They would like to ask? Okay, yes, so I think we should know.
Yes, Chair, my name is Saul Jones. I work for Jail Richards, business address 243 Brunel Street. Just wanted to add to the comments that were made. The timing is constrained from when we receive a report to the committee meeting day. We did meet with staff on Friday, August 1st, and then attempt to discuss the comments. We very thankful for that discussion. We felt it went well. It was holiday Monday, and it was just very hard for us to come up with a revised plan that would work for everyone completely. So our best effort was around that plan to see. Ultimately, we'll have the architect prepare a revised plan showing everything. We also discussed multiple locations on site for bicycle parking. This was just one we chose. We also briefly to increase landscaping both on private site, tree planting, and on the municipal right of way, the tree planting and sign. So we felt these address overall the comments that we had. Again, just due to the constraint time we're looking to get a bunch forward, we realize this is a little bit of confusion. But there we go. And then secondly, we have the one condition that's being dated, shall we say, which condition 8. Again, the conversation we have with staff, the revisions we're willing to make to the plan, we feel address that condition, and it can be removed from the decision today. So our preference is to hear the application today, and but it's at the discretion.
Okay, just to be clear, there is one amendment to the variance already to change the front yard setback. Are there any other variances that would be triggered or changed by this revised site plan?
Through each other, I think the only variance that we have eliminated is the need for reduced aisle and bicycle parking. So that was really one of the main issues that came up, was feeling that the bicycle parking being where it was, close to the window, may not have been ideal. Hence the idea to move bicycle parking more to the rear of the property.
And would be free and clear from that. Therefore, we don't need that aisle, reduced aisle width.
Okay, staff, do you have what you need if we hear this application in terms of clear documentation of what the variances are and what plans are being dealt with?
Yes, Madam Chair, I think we have received the revised site plan this morning. It'll be dated today. We understand that an amendment was previously identified by planning staff and possibly a further amendment to remove a variance related to the bicycle parking.
Okay.
If that's
So you guys are clear that if we hear this today, it's sort of at your own risk. It could get turned down if the concerns aren't adequately addressed.
Yes, Chair, we're aware.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a vote from members on whether we want to adjourn this or not. I think it's sort of on the cusp. So those members who would like to see this application adjourned, could I have a hand, please? All right, we're going to hear your application. I'm going to stand it down and get through some of the other applications more efficiently, quickly, and we'll come back to it, okay?
Thank you.
All right. The following three applications. Clarence. Have I got that right? Yes. Which are 293 MacLaren, 155 Clare, and 581 Brunel have all been reviewed. We've heard of no concerns. Is there anybody who wants to raise any additional comments? Anyone online?
There's no one online, Madam Chair. I believe item 1 is also identified.
Oh,
As
Item 1 also. Thank you. Sorry, that would be 383 Ravenhill. All right, so I'm going to go through these one by one for consent to approve. Okay, 293 MacLaren. Can I ask for approval? Show of hands? Okay, granted. 155 Clare. Approval, show of hands? 581 Brunel. For approval, a show of hands? Okay, and the last one, 383 Ravenhill. For approval, a show of hands. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now going to go to 405 Huron South. Do we have anyone here to speak to this application?
the agent is online, Madam Chair.
I do not see the agent online. I think I need more windows.
Oh, I think I joined the panelists. I went to the wrong location. Sorry.
And then depending on when they sell their house, I mean, you still pull off the garage with it.
Okay, there we go. Could you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Lane McKenzie. The address is 405 Huron Avenue South.
All right, super. Now, I understand that planning department has no concerns from the Conservation Authority.
And it's a detached.
Now, we do have a letter from a neighbor, which we have read and considered. Do any of the panel members have any questions or concerns that they would like spoken to by planning or the applicant? No? Okay. I don't really see any reason to ask for any additional presentation. Sorry, do you have a hand? Oh, sorry. Madame Lecaillé, do you want to go ahead then, please?
Yeah, just a quick question for the agent. Just in light of the concerns raised by the neighbor, just curious if there was any alternative plans considered as part of that.
Well, we went yesterday and spoke to the neighbors, and we believe that we have come to an agreement of how we'd like to move forward and how we're going to participate with them to make it more enjoyable for neighboring houses. I think we'll just try to work our best to coordinate with them and reduce noise or allow the water to flow to the appropriate downspouts to avoid any erosion to their foundation. And they're willing to do some foundation crack assessments beforehand, just to make sure that that gets resolved. And I know that the one neighbor, I believe it was 407 Huron, or it was 403, sorry, it was the northern property. They were a little worried about the roof and how it'd be just allowing water and snow to be pushed onto their side. We discussed with them, and we talked about how we'll divert that water away from the property and push it towards the front of the property into the existing downspouts, and they seemed that they were happy with that result. So I believe that what we have proposed to them, they agree that it is not going to impact the property as much as they originally thought.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, anything further? All right, could I have a show of hands for approval of this application, please? All right, your application is granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. 46 Garland.
On this.
Hello, panel.
Hi there. Would you like to give me your name and address for the record,
Yeah.
please?
My name is Yasan Bahadouri, and with me I have Jasmine Paoloni, and our address is 2200 Thurston Drive, Unit 203, Ottawa.
Thank you very much. I think we'd like to see a short presentation on this application, please.
Sure, we have prepared a presentation. If the coordinator could put it up on the screen. Thank you. So this application is for 46 Garland Street and proposes to sever one lot into two and construct a 3-story stacked residential dwelling with 6 units, including 2 3-bedrooms and 4 studios. The basement on the severed lot and the retained lot contains an existing 2-story mixed-use building, including 1 commercial unit and 4 residential units, which will remain unchanged. Next slide, please. So the site is located within the inner urban transit designated as a neighborhood under the evolving overlay. Next slide, please. And the subject site is also located in the low-rise neighborhood designation of the Osgoode Street secondary plan. The proposed 3-story height is consistent with the maximum permitted building height for North Hintonburg. And also the development respects the existing lot fabric and supports the plan's goals for low-rise intensification near corridors. Next slide, please. The property is zoned local commercial subzone 1, exception 2256, which permits residential uses and has no minimum lot width or area requirements, and urban exception 2256 applies only to non-residential uses. Next slide, please. So these are the site photos for the retained lot, showing the retained lot contains a 2-story mixed-use building with 2 street frontages, Garland Street and Ledouceur Street. The ground floor commercial space is accessed from Garland Street, and the 4 residential units are accessed via side entrances. Next slide. The site photos for the severed lot showing the severed portion is currently used informally for parking and is underutilized. This application proposes to replace that area with a 3-story stacked residential dwelling and a basement containing 6 units. Next slide, please. This is the survey plan, highlights the property boundary in red, retained lots shown in green, and severed lot in red. Next slide, please. This is the draft 4R showing part 1 or retained lot with 420.7 square meters of area and 30.92 meters of frontage. Part 2 or severed lot has 181.08 square meters of area and 6 meters of frontage. Next slide, please. This is the site plan showing the rear yard access is provided via 1 meter side yard along the east side of the property. The 1 meter wide walkway meets Ontario Building Code minimum of 0.9 meters. The proposed building will cantilever over the walkway and align with the eastern lot line at 0 meters above ground level. And waste storage is located at the front of the building, where the walkway widens to 1.2 meters, and the sidewalk is not used for waste movement. Next slide, please. Building elevations showing the proposed building features large windows, recessed balconies, a flat roof, and a variety of siding materials. The design responds to urban design guidelines for low-rise infill housing through a street-facing facade, pedestrian scale massing, and a combination of siding materials, including siding and cement board panels to complement the neighboring properties. Next slide, please. So the variances we're requesting to permit these applications are variances A and B to reduce side yard setback at east and west from 1.2 to 0 meters. Variance C to reduce rear yard setback from 7.5 to 5 meters. Variance D to reduce landscape buffer along the street from 3 meter to 1.5 meters. And variance E to reduce front yard setback from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. Next slide, please. So there are several nearby properties within a 250-meter radius, have 0 meters or reduced side yard setbacks on both sides, as you can see in the image. Also, rear yard setbacks are about 1 meter at 40 Garland, 3 meter at 42 Garland, and 1 meter at 44 Garland. The original 4.3 measurements that you can see in the image for 44 Garland was incorrect because the Groupe doesn't show the garage addition, which makes the rear yard setback closer to 1 meter. So the variances reflect existing conditions and contribute to continuous urban street wall consistent with the urban character. Next slide, please. So regarding the 4 tests of a minor variance, regarding test 1, the requested variances are limited to yards and buffer width and don't affect building height, lot coverage, or servicing. Similar condition exists nearby, including 0 meter side yards and rear yards under 5 meters. This proves the development will have no adverse impact on neighboring properties. Regarding test 2, development introduces 6-unit residential units on an underutilized portion of land while preserving the existing mixed-use building. The massing, access, and site layout are compatible with surrounding low-rise residential and mixed-use context. Next slide, please. So regarding test 3, the development supports intensification within a 15-minute neighborhood near transit and services. It aligns with evolving overlay and Osgoode Street secondary plan goals for compact low-rise infill. Design also meets urban design guidelines and contributes to housing mix, including large household units. And regarding test 4, the local commercial subzone 1 permits residential uses. No minimum lot width or area applies. Side and rear yard variances reflect established development pattern. Waste and bike access are functional, and the proposal respects the low-rise scale intended by zoning. Next slide, please.
Okay.
To address the criteria.
I'm just going to hold you a second there.
Sure.
We're at 5 minutes, are we not?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, okay. I'm just going to ask panel members here, are you guys okay to go a bit longer, hear the rest of this? Yes, okay, continue, please.
So to address the criteria in section 5124 of the Planning Act, the site is fully serviced with municipal water, sewer, and stormwater. No new infrastructure is required. The severance enables a compact infill development that fits with the existing lot pattern and supports intensification goals. It provides new housing without the need for public land, new road, or major servicing upgrades. The proposal conforms to the official plan and Osgoode Street secondary plan, meeting policies for intensification, urban design, housing diversity, and inner urban transit development. The lot is zoned for residential use with no minimum width or area, and the dimensions are functional for the proposed use. The proposal is not premature, and the site is ready for development, and adjacent properties are also intensifying. Multiple schools are also located within the 1 kilometer to the property. No public land dedication required, and no site plan control is triggered. So we've also pre-consulted with city staff and addressed all of their comments. We also met with Community Association on July 8th to present the application, and we have no concerns with the conditions. Thank you, and we are available for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand that planning does not have any specific concerns, just a suite of conditions. Okay, I'm going to give the panel an opportunity to ask questions, and then we will hear from any other people who would like to comment. Is there anyone on the panel who has any specific questions to this application? Ms. Lecuyer?
Yes, my question is, I'll start with the agent. Can you elaborate on alternative designs that you considered before you landed on this one? When I note some of the comments from the community association, they the 3-bed on the upper floors, and just kind of curious about, given the number of variances being requested, just kind of some alternative designs that you considered.
Were you able to hear that audio well enough to understand the question?
I think that I can discuss the design considerations, and then I guess the floor plan layouts was the other part of that.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sorry. So my name is Jasmine Paoloni. I'm working with Yasemin on this. We did look at a few other designs for the front and the sides, primarily for unit access. We went back and forth on low-rise apartment versus stack dwelling. And we found that the stack dwelling gave us the most functional internal layouts, and it allowed us to achieve some larger units in the upper floors. And based on previous discussions from the community association, that's what the client chose to prioritize. And so that led us to the stack dwelling with 6 units. And then in terms of the internal unit layout, I believe the upper units were designated for the larger units for OBC, to meet OBC requirements for egress.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. There's no elevator plan for this property?
No elevator. We don't have any accessible units, and no elevators required under the OBC. So it's individual stairs for every unit.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Blatherwick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Horn, I have a question regarding one of the department's conditions. I'm happy to see that there are 3 conditions that deal with the stormwater management on this site, and I'm looking at condition 3, and I'll read from the text of your report that each existing parcel has its own independent storm, sanitary, and water services connected to city infrastructure. Is there going to be a requirement for the applicant to prove that there will be adequate reserve capacity in both the sanitary system and the potable water supply?
Thank you, Mr. Blatherwick. That will be, sorry, when our engineering team reviews these conditions, this is something that they look for. And in this case, this was assessed, this will be assessed at building permit.
Okay, but thank you, Ms. Horn, but words you guys typically use in your conditions are servicing plan or servicing study. That's missing from this condition. Is a servicing plan going to be required? Because I don't see a request or a requirement for that in your conditions of approval.
Member Blatherwick, and just so that I can maybe make sure that we're clear on this, your concern is that there's no request for a specific servicing plan report as opposed to.
Yeah, it's not in the text of the conditions, Madam Chair. And most of the time the department has that in the text of the condition that a servicing plan shall be prepared, and it's not here. And my question is why?
So to planning staff, are those conditions prepared by you yourself as the planner, or are you just, this is a condition you would normally receive from other reviewers like engineering staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a condition that we normally receive from engineering.
So engineering has not requested that the particular servicing report be prepared.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ms. Horn and Madam Chair and the members of the panel, that's a problem, given the amount of development that's going into areas like Hintonburg. There has to be some assurance for incumbent owners that when the new building goes in, when somebody flushes the toilet next door, it's not going to back up into their basement. And that's why we have servicing plans and servicing studies requested by infrastructure and the planning department to ensure that this kind of problem doesn't happen. I'm just wondering if this condition shouldn't be modified to include the requirement for, at the very least, for a servicing plan.
As a condition of the severance.
As a
Proposing this as a condition of the severance?
It's in the conditions from the staff report. Yep.
Okay.
It's a modification to condition 3. Just to add servicing plan. Whether or not the department is willing to, after the fact, do this. I mean, it doesn't have to be done on the floor.
I understand. Okay, let's just hold that for a minute as an outstanding concern.
Okay.
Are there any other questions that would be directed at the applicant agent or at planning? Because then I will move on and ask, okay, Member Lecuyer?
Yeah, just a question for planning. I know in your report, you've indicated that you have no concerns. I'm just wondering if you could elaborate a bit more on the opinion of whether it meets the test of minor and desirable, if there's anything else you would like to add on that.
Thank you, Madam Lecuyer. So in this case, the property is located in the local commercial zone, which is intended to promote an urban built form and is characterized by things like minimal front yards and side yard setbacks, which encourage that close relationship to the street. And so this is, in our view, not uncommon for a building in the area. And it is approximately 600 meters from Bayview Station. And so generally desirable to have that intensification close by to transit, especially with the larger units. These are all very positive things, and they were able to show that, in staff's opinion, a very functional layout of the site, despite the variances that are being requested.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Member Blatherwick, did you have an additional comment or question?
Nope, not to me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Your little hand showing there. Member Haskin.
Oh, I'll get rid of the hand. There we go.
Just I was wondering if the applicant could speak, or the applicant agent could speak to the reduction in the landscape buffer. Has any effort been made to, I guess, support the walkability of the community in that reduced landscape buffer?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The landscape buffer is reduced only at the front, abutting the front wall of the building and the existing sidewalk. And the reduced landscape buffer is required because we're reducing the front yard setback. And so they kind of go hand in hand. We will still have that area of soft landscaping, and it will be between the sidewalk and the street. And so the sidewalk will still be available for the walkability of the site.
Okay, thank you. I understand that we have received some comments from the Hintonburg Community Association. I am happy to hear a 5-minute presentation on that. If you have additional comments in addition to what we've already read.
Madam Chair, the representative is, there she is.
Hello, could you provide me with your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Cheryl Parrott, and my address is 132 Bayview Station Road.
Okay, I understand you have a presentation for us regarding an opposition to this proposal. I'm going to repeat a second time. We have read the submissions that have come in, and there is a 5-minute limit on the presentation. All right, let's go ahead.
Okay, thanks so much. So we oppose the application for consent and minor variance for this building. We don't oppose intensification in the community, and we've not opposed many applications that have come before you. But we feel that this one is not an appropriate project and would lead to other projects would, or a better design would lead to more efficient and better use of this lot. We appreciate the owner's attempt to provide the family-sized units. That's something that we always ask for. But when they're on the second and third floor, it makes it more difficult hauling strollers and bicycles, etc., up and down those stairs. And certainly using the basement and first floor would be a better use. We have a concern about all 6 doors on the south side of the building, tucked under the cantilever and facing the blank wall of the adjoining apartment building. And it means that residents have to walk through this tunnel past the garbage containers to access their units. So if you could bring up the slides again, please, and put it on slide 1, which is the first picture. And it shows the width of the building. So the next slide. It's approximately the fenced area between the new building on the left and the balcony supports on the right. So it'll be sandwiched in between there. So the creation of this tiny 6.5 meter lot doesn't conform to the lot size typical of this neighborhood, and the retained lot would also be an anomaly. Most of the lots in this area are 10 by 30 meters or 20 by 30 meters. So this creates 2 off-size lots completely. It doesn't conform to several of the criteria in the Planning Act, or Ontario Planning Act. The severance is premature and not in the public interest. It creates a lot that results in a development that doesn't work and leaves that other section in limbo. The proposed 6-unit dwelling is not functional, nor is it compatible with the surrounding neighborhood character, having no front door and going through this tunnel to get to the units. The dimension and shapes of the proposed lot disrupts the uniformity of the community lot fabric. And so variances A and B are the ones that we oppose, that reduce and restrict the lot width. We oppose these because they result in the development that is not desirable or appropriate. So slide 2, please. This one shows variance C, and we're opposed to the rear yard setback decrease. So you can see 52 Garland, which is under construction in the back, and it did conform to the 7.5 meter setback at grade, and it has a 6.3 meter setback above the ground floor, and that was due to the hydro setback at the front, which this property will also have to abide by. So we oppose that reduced rear yard setback. It really compresses the garbage area, and only 3 bike stands are being provided. Slide 3, please. So this shows an example of a new building in Hintonburg with 16 units on a 20 by 30 meter lot. And we submit that this proposal is more in tune with the community. It has a front door, it faces the street. This proposal doesn't conform to the urban design guidelines. It doesn't contribute to an inviting, safe, accessible streetscape because there's no ground floor relationship to the street. It has no entry and no porches, no balconies. Oh, it has balconies, sorry. So really, there's no other buildings in the community that are similar to what is being proposed here. Slide 4, please. And this one shows another new build that's happened in Hintonburg on a slightly smaller lot. This one has 12 units in. And we submit that these are more appropriate building form on that size lot. So we request that the committee refuse this application. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Barrett. Okay. I would like to give the applicant an opportunity to respond specifically to the relationship with the street comment that's been raised and any others that you would like to address.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think maybe we'll start with I'll try and summarize the large unit, comments about the large units. Being for families, using the stairways to hike bikes and strollers up. I will note that we're providing the minimum required bike parking, which has a location in the backyard, 3 spaces. The large units are not necessarily for families. They could be for groups of people who live together as well. So they are large dwelling units as per the official plan policies. And for egress purposes, according to the OBC requirements, those had to be located on the top floors. The same unit layout would not have worked on the lower levels. And so that's our rationale for putting them above on the 2nd and 3rd floor. In terms of the access to the units, yes, they are all through the side yard cantilever walkway. We will design it in a way where it is well lit. It won't be kind of a narrow tunnel area. The height of the space will be approximately 5 meters, much larger than a single story. And it will be well lit and well identified for those units for wayfinding purposes. The neighborhood character, we do believe that the design has a strong connection to the streetscape with the articulation of the projection at the ground floor and at the basement level. And then we have a recess for the terrace on what is technically considered the ground level. And then we also have a balcony above with fairly large windows and material articulation. And so we believe that that kind of makes up for the fact that we don't have a direct front-facing door, but we do have that visual interest in the streetscape. Regarding the lot size, we do recognize the units that have been listed in the Community Association's comment letter. When we're comparing this property to kind of the neighborhood, we're looking more on Garland and other properties that are also zoned LC and less towards the kind of inner neighborhood, low density, low rise residential. And so we believe that the lot that we're creating, both the retained and the severed, are appropriate for that area of the neighborhood. It's a different condition from say further down on La Douceur. And I will note that the zoning does not have a minimum lot size requirement. In terms of the neighborhood character, yes, so we said no front door. We do have the front articulation. Variances A and B regarding the side yard setbacks. We do have the 1 meter walkway for those units to be accessed, and then above the 1 meter is where it stretches out to a 0 meter lot line, which meets the OBC minimum required walkway area, and the waste in that area does have the minimum required 1.2 meter for the waste container movement, which meets the zoning requirements. And I will note that if we had proposed at least one commercial unit in this building, making it a mixed use building, we would have been permitted to go to 0 meters. And it was on a previous discussion with planning staff. It was their recommendation that we do not propose a commercial unit. They didn't see the need for it in this area, but they did want to see the 0 meter setbacks. And so that's the design direction that we ended up taking with the 0 meters. Regards to variance C, so that's the rear yard setback. We do believe that the 5 meter is still a functional rear yard, being that we are able to provide the soft landscape buffer abutting the rear lot line and the 3 bike parking spaces with access to them with the adequate aisle space. Especially considering the surrounding properties and precedent with the properties that also face Garland on the other side of La Douceur, so 40, 42, and 44 Garland. We believe that the design reflects the evolving overlay development patterns, especially, and it is encouraged by the secondary plan and the official plan. And lastly, the relationship to the street. We do believe that it is a context-sensitive development. It's a unique lot size, and it calls for a unique building design, and we believe that that's what we've provided here for you today. And we believe it's contributing to the city's overall housing policies for missing middle housing, without overwhelming the site as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other information that the panel feels they need in order to make a decision on this application? We are going to reserve. All right, okay. We'll reserve this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are going to move on to 574 Kirkwood. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy to be back.
We've got your name and address for the record. So I'm going to ask you to give us a brief summary of the application. Okay.
Madam Chair, I also need to give the oath of the sign
Oh,
as
that's
well.
right. Thank you. All right, let me find it for you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted on the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, committee. As we already discussed, my name is Connor Joy. I'm a planner at JLR Richards. I'm here with Morgan Jones, also senior planner at JLR. We're here to present applications for consent and minor variance at 547 Kirkwood Avenue. The application is to propose a new lot to permit the development of a 3-story, 8-unit low-rise apartment building, which all have 2 bedrooms. I'll do my best to stay on the 5-minute timer, but just a heads up, and there you go. If we get our presentation maybe up to, awesome. I'll just keep going. The subject site is located in the Kitchensby ward in the Westboro neighborhood. The site is less than a 10-minute walk from amenities such as parks and commercial spaces, major roads such as Highway 417 and Carling Avenue and close vicinity. Ocean Handle Bus Service also services Clare Street and Kirkwood Avenue, as well as Carling Avenue. Next slide, please. The subject site is a rectangular lot with approximately 90 meters of frontage on both Kirkwood Avenue and West Haven Crescent. The total lot area right currently is about 752 square meters with approximate depth of 40 meters. The subject site is found within the inner urban transit policy area designated as neighborhood and also found within the evolving neighborhood overlay. The site is zoned R4UC in the City of Ottawa zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. This slide shows images of the subject site, including the existing low-rise apartment building and the storage shed. The existing low-rise apartment building will be located on its own lot, and the shed will be demolished to permit the new development. Next slide, please. These images are of existing residential dwellings that are located on West Haven Crescent. They characterize the area with a range of mix of housing typologies in terms of built form, massing, and height. But I will note they're all low-rise and they're all ground-oriented as we have proposed. These photos are reflective of a neighborhood that experiencing gradual change and appropriate location for intensification. Next slide, please. As mentioned, the application for consent to create a new lot, which is part 2 on this image. Reciprocal consents have been applied, so each lot can be legally described on its own. Part 2 is where the new low-rise apartment will be, as mentioned, and minor variances are required for both properties. We have included variances of part 1 to address any legal non-compliant issues which staff have agreed with in the report. Next slide, please. This is site plan of the proposed development, which is proposed at 3 stories or 11.2 meters, or sorry, 11.6 meters. I note this is before the changes were made as the presentation was submitted beforehand. The proposed building will contain 8 2-bedroom units, as mentioned. As part of our applications, we implemented a public consultation strategy, which included reaching out to the ward councillor and community association. We didn't hear back from the community association before this meeting, but we did hear back. Oh, in addition, we also circulated residents within 60 meters a letter about the proposed application. We heard back from 2 residents and we responded to their concerns, which are about parking, traffic, and refuse. Next slide, please. This application shows the reciprocal nature of the consents in terms of part 1 and part 2, and then part 1 and part 2 on the other one. It also, this slide shows the proposed frontages, depths, and areas. In terms of consent applications, in Ontario, they must meet section 5124 of the Planning Act. The subject site is located in the urban boundary of the City of Ottawa. It will use public infrastructure, including roads and municipal services that are within the area. The application conforms to the policy of the official plan for the interurban transit neighborhood designation involving neighborhood overlay and intensification. Variances are being sought to ensure compliance with zoning bylaw. A plan of subdivision is not required for proper orderly development, and it meets Section 2 of the Planning Act's provincial interest. Overall, the application meets the public interest and represents good land use planning. Next slide, please. This slide gives a detailed breakdown of the variances. As we discussed, variance number 1 for the new building, or variance D, is the one we're looking to have removed in terms of the bike parking. So just to note of that for the committee members. Next slide, please. This slide gives an overview of the variances and just where they're located in the lot to ensure committee and staff were able to identify them and and know where they are. Next slide, please. Minor variances are governed under Section 45 of the Planning Act. Variances must meet the 4 tests that are set out in 45.1. We'll review those tests now. The first test deals with the application and conformity and general intent and purpose of the official plan. The subject site is designated as neighborhood with an evolving neighborhood overlay. The OP encourages infill and intensification in urban areas on sites that are close to existing services and amenities, along corridors such as Kirkwood Avenue. Furthermore, the evolving neighborhood overlay policies are supportive of intensification of neighborhoods and corridors and are supportive of gradual transfer developments that move beyond the zoning bylaw standards. The proposed development is located in an area that is suitable for new low-rise residential development and conforms to the policy of the official plan. Does the application conform to the general intent per zoning bylaw? As mentioned, the subject site is zoned R4UC. The low-rise apartment is permitted as a permitted use in this zone. The R4 zone allows a wide mix of residential building forms to regulate development in a manner that is compatible with existing land use patterns and ensure residential character is maintained. The proposed development generally adheres to the standard zoning bylaw while respecting the broader character of the neighborhood and creates a modest yet important level of intensification in this area. It is our opinion that the variances conform to the general intent and purposes of the zoning bylaw. Are the variances desirable for appropriate development or use of the property? The proposed variances are desirable as they create a built form that frames the building and reflects the character on West Haven Crescent.
All right, I want you to get through this part.
Yeah. They introduced reductions in the zoning bylaw that will still maintain sufficient setbacks from maintenance, refuse, and landscape areas. They optimized interior space and exterior the space and building while maintaining privacy and circulation. The reduction in soft landscaping area will still provide a functionally visually and pleasing space that's appropriate for the development. And lastly, are the variances minor in nature? The variances propose minor reduction in the development standards while maintaining efficient setbacks and functionality of the site. The incremental change is proposed in a context-sensitive manner that allows for residential intensification in an appropriate scale and location. It is our opinion that the proposed variances are minor in nature. Overall, the application represents good land use planning and the variances meet the 4 tests outlined in the Planning Act. Next slide. And we can just leave it off here. This was the slide that we submitted in terms of the revised bike parking. I'm happy to end the presentation here and we can walk through this, or we can take any questions that may be from committee members or from staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Do hold that slide. I would like with staff to go through and make sure that we are considering the right set of variances. And when I look at the list that we have in front of us, I'm not going to go through them in detail, but for variance request A00127, I think we have no changes. Correct? And then for variance request 00128, there is a change to E to permit a reduced front yard setback of 1.5 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 4.5 meters.
Yes, Madam Chair, I believe that was identified by planning staff.
Okay, that's one. And then we're going to remove one of these variances. With the revised plan.
Subject to confirmation from the applicant, I believe it's variance D.
Variance D. So that's the one to permit a reduced aisle width accessing a bicycle parking space of 0.0 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum aisle width accessing a bicycle parking space of 1.5 meters, and you are saying that you have now provided that 1.5 meters.
Madam Chair, that's correct. If I could just give a bit of a background, this maybe
I just want to make sure we have this correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that for the record. Okay, please go ahead.
If staff could go back to the site plan of the plan, I believe it's like slide maybe 7 before the revision. It just shows where the bike parking initially was. Yeah, so basically the variance was initially written in the case that the window well made it impossible to access the full access aisle. Part of the aisle was provided, but we couldn't provide the full. Therefore, the variance was requested at 0. But through discussion with staff, we were able to find a spot that we believe is good where the whole aisle is provided. As the other slide had previously shown, I know we've also discussed with staff about locating it parallel, all the spaces parallel along the lot line, in the rear lot line. So I think there's options, and I think that we've talked to the representative from our client prior to the meeting, and we're committed to find an option where these bike parking spaces can be located on this lot in compliance with the bylaw and in compliance with the 1.5 meter aisle that is required.
Okay. I do have a question, then we'll go to panel members. This is a question for planning. I should know this. Is this application as it is now subject to site plan control?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it is not.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, panel members. I'd like to ask if you have any questions. Member Haskin?
Thank you. Would the applicant's agent be able to speak to how you've addressed some of the parking concerns that the nearby residents seem to have as well? It looked like in the satellite image there you had 7 cars currently using the parking spaces, and it doesn't appear there's any parking on the future or proposed development.
Through you, Madam Chair, just the first part, or the last part, sorry, the new property doesn't require any parking spaces, which is why there's no parking proposed. We also feel it's an area that's served by transit in multiple spots and is close by to multiple different commercial and other service amenities. In terms of the parking, that is correct. I will note some of that existing parking on the site is actually located in the city right away. And therefore, it's a bit confusing which parking spaces are allowed and which ones are not. Parking is permitted along West Haven Crescent, and we're kind of committed to cleaning up and fronting in terms of making that green space in terms of the building where it will be, which won't enable any parking, will just make a nicer streetscape. In terms of the residents' concerns, we relayed to those, similar to what we've just said, we relayed to them as well, those points.
Thank you very much. Anything further?
Yes, through you, Chair. There is a bus stop on Kirkwood. It's around 200 meters from the site. That's it from the West Haven site. If we were to go around, if you're on Kirkwood, it's right there. So it's something that's right there. We're providing the bicycle parking. That's in hope of, encouraging active transportation. And there are other ways for people to get around these days, such as Ubers or other, ride sharing programs. And in addition, the owner for the existing building and for the planned new building will make it clear to tenants that are looking to locate the units that there will not be any parking provided on site. So that is essentially, but the key is that the bylaw does not require parking, and therefore the owners decided not to provide it.
Okay, thank you. Member Blatherwick? I'm afraid you're muted.
Better?
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gentlemen, I'm looking at your report, and specifically page 22, the consent rationale. And you reference 5124I, the adequacy of utilities and municipal services. And reading from your report, the subject site is located within the urban boundary and the proposed new lot. I'm assuming you're talking about the new dwelling. Will connect to the existing utilities and municipal services, and the new lot will have any major impacts on the adequacy of the city's municipal services or utilities. That sounds to me like you've admitted that there will be impacts on the adequacy of the city's municipal services or utilities. Would you like to explain, please?
Through you, Chair, the planning report is a document. Its main thing is to give background information and then obviously put forward different positions of why something is good planning. In addition, planning report does often provide additional background. So in this case, we just wanted to be clear to staff and anyone reading it that there are municipal services in the area. We do have conditions in the city staff report that are bringing forward the need for servicing, study, and various plans. That's been confirmed with the owner. We're happy to do that, whatever way it needs to happen. There are services in Kirkwood and West Haven. Obviously, this new site's going to connect to West Haven, and there's a variety of servicing options. Those discussions were also had offline with city staff and engineering, and we had our engineer there. And the condition we feel for both parties is something that protects the city, that the severance wouldn't be granted final approval unless servicing was available, and that the servicing scheme and the servicing connections were all acceptable to city staff and other approval authorities. So we don't believe there's going to be any negative impact to servicing in the area or any residents from the servicing scheme.
Thank you. Perhaps you could put that kind of a rationale into explaining the adequacy of utilities and municipal services in a planning rationale in future. That would make me a lot happier, because when I read something like this, I'm going, okay, what kind of impacts are they going to have? And I note that that staff have requested a site servicing study and a servicing plan and a wastewater plan. So I think we're okay, but I'm just curious about the language in your report. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Lecuyer?
Yeah, question for planning staff. So in light of the new site plan, have their concerns been addressed? Or do they still have concerns with this application?
Through you, Madam Chair. So initially, staff did have concerns regarding the reduction of specifically the aggregated rectangular landscaped area. However, through further conversations with the applicant, they have agreed to more intensive soft landscaping, so providing additional trees, and along with moving the bike parking, that really addressed the concerns around functionality of that bike parking. And based off of those changes, that staff have no concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. So just to recap that, based on the revisions and discussions you've had, that the comments that were flagged as concerns by staff as part of the planning report that was prepared have been for the most part addressed. Okay, thank you so much. Member Haskin?
Thank you. I just want to confirm with the proposed development, there will be no longer access to Kirkwood through the existing development. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct. I know that staff had asked for that easement to be as condition 8, which we had requested to be removed in a discussion with staff on Friday, as we've already kind of alluded to. And as my colleague mentioned, the bus stop is only 200 meters, so it's not an additional far walk for anybody. And I will note that technically anybody walking through that site right now that doesn't live at Kirkwood that's illegal. There would be trespassing. That's unfortunate. We're not opposed to connectivity, but we don't feel the easement is kind of a good, proper, and needed at this point in time. Anybody that lives on West Haven Crescent would have to walk around right now. We also feel in terms of just, it would limit our design in terms of where the easement actually goes right now. If we had further time to discuss with staff, maybe a location, we could have done that, but we weren't able to do that. And we still feel either way the easement is not needed, and connectivity is still maintained. Thank you.
Okay. We did have one comment from the public with concerns relating to the parking structure, street parking, overdevelopment. Was there anyone who wanted to speak specifically to the application? None? We're good? Okay. Member Blatherwick, your hand's up. So do you have another question, or are we good?
Oh, I forgot to put it down. Sorry.
That's okay. I just don't want to miss you. All right. Anything further from the applicant? No? Okay, we are going to reserve on this decision. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last one. 27 O'Meara, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the panel.
Just give me a minute. I'll find
Sure.
your paper here. All right. Okay. Would you like to give us a brief presentation?
Sure, I can do that for you. So this is a zoning compliant consent application on a constructed building on O'Meara, which is just in from Scott Street. It is zoning compliant in all respects. And I know you've received a submission from the local community association talking about where the front door is and how that works. The construction was subject to a streetscape character analysis, which indeed did indicate that a front door was required to be on the street. And as you can see, that is the front door that is on the street. The contention that is made by the community association is that the rear unit door should also be at the street. But this is a long semi-detached, and in the zoning bylaw, long semi, section 145, where a long semi-detached dwelling is severed, the lands upon which the long semi-detached are located are considered one lot for zoning purposes. So so as a result, yes, you're required to have a front door on the street, which we do, but you're not required to have the rear lot to be considered to have the same requirements from a zoning context, because it's considered one lot for zoning purposes. And in this case, we meet all of the requirements of both section 145 of the zoning bylaw, and which is the long semi-detached dwellings, and the R4 UB provisions. So if we can move to the next slide. That is a copy of the reference plan. As you can see, part one is the front, both front dwelling. Part two is a laneway that leads to the back, leads to a parking space. There is a parking space on part three, and there is a parking space on part two. And there is an easement in favor of part one over part two to a parking space and a future waste management, a shared waste management facility. If you want to go to the next slide. This is just an indication of the as-built surveys indicating the setbacks to indicate that it is zoning compliant for you. And the next slide is the site plan. So you also heard from the local community association that that the only way to access the rear unit downstairs is through the front unit, through part one, that side yard. And at this point, it's not totally correct, but from an operational perspective, because it's one owner, they are offering, or they are operating it as, you come in off of O'Meara Street to access the back two units. They've got a temporary divider up there, and there is, in the back unit, is where they're doing some waste management. When this is severed, those operational characteristics will have to change. So that landing that you see when you see to those two on the side of the building. They both have stairs on either side of them, so they both can be accessed from either side. Pea gravel, the same pea gravel is on either side. The only difference is in the front, it has some patio stones, which will have to occur in the back. And there will have to be access to the shared waste management storage, because right now, some of the waste management is carried on in the back and some is carried on in the side. So as once the severance occurs and when different owners take the front and the back, those operational issues are going to have to change. So other than that, Madam Chair, if you go to the last slide, it's fully zoning compliant. It meets the criteria under Section 51, Part 24 compliance. Planning staff have no concerns. Building code services have no concerns. And as this is already built, we concur with the proposed conditions. We have to demonstrate the grading and drainage plan, separate services, we can do that, and the payment of cash in lieu and those other requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from panel members, please, if any. None. Okay, I understand we have comments from the Community Association. Were they hoping to make a presentation? Okay, let's hear that now. Hello again, Ms. Parrott.
Hello again.
Okay.
Okay, so I do have a slides as well, if they could be brought up. So we do oppose the application for consent, and I'm glad to understand that they're proposing some changes, but I wanted to show you some of the pictures. So these are the two doors that the one on the left goes to the front basement unit, the one on the right goes to the rear basement unit. And it's quite a narrow pathway. And if we could go to the next slide, please. So this is the way that you get to those doors. So you can see that the barrier they have there and the garbage cans and stuff. So I understand that they're now proposing from the diagram to put a barrier between the two doors and then to make the tenant for the rear basement unit walk all the way around the building and then come around to those stairs, which is really not convenient at all. And it would make more sense to have made this pathway as a shared pathway, an easement over it, as opposed to making the tenant walk all the way around. And if they don't put the barrier between the two doors, I would assume that the tenant will just trespass. That's what I would do, certainly. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is the driveway. So they're going to have to go, it's quite a long building and quite a wide building. So it's a bit of a trek to go there, and somebody's got to do a lot of shoveling in the wintertime, I would suggest. And if we could go to the next slide, please. When long semi-detached were first started being developed in the community, we understood at that time that the rear unit had to have a street-facing door, and that's how the flag lot and the pole came into existence. And perhaps that has now changed, but you can see that these are much more functional. And we did ask when this project was being proposed, was this going to be severed? And we were told, no, it won't be. And that's why we don't have a front-facing rear unit door. This makes it far more functional and far more obvious. But if that has now been taken out of the Planning Act, then there's not much we can do about it. But we have many of these in the community. So if we could go to the next one, slide 5. So here's another example of ones. And then the next slide, slide 6, is another example. So if they change the configuration, I understand that there won't be trespassing, but we still feel that that's not really very functional. And it doesn't really address parts of the criteria that call for health, safety, and convenience and accessibility for present and future inhabitants of this project. So we still oppose this consent based on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Panel members, any comments, questions? Member Lecuyer?
Yeah, just a quick question to city staff. So if there's, the agent has mentioned that there will be this barrier. Will be
Okay, just patience. We've lost Member Lecuyer.
Oh.
We've lost your audio and your video connection. Let's just hang on, try again. Nope.
Try testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we can hear you maybe.
Testing.
And she turn off her video. Do you want to try turning off video and we'll see if just the audio is good?
Let's try that. Can you hear me now?
Much better, thank you.
That better? Okay. Just a quick question for the city. If there is no condition that is requiring this barrier that is planned to be added between those two basement units, I'm just wondering if the city's concerned or is looking for an additional easement to be provided to address the concerns that have been raised by the Neighborhood Community Association.
For you, Madam Chair, the city would not have concerns and is not requesting either an easement or a barrier in place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from panel members? All right, would you like to address that, Mr. Hughes?
So just to be clear, there is no barrier between the units now. Where the barrier is past the front stoop of both two units, and that will be taken away so that you can have access from both sides of that right of way. And I just wanted to be clear that part one or the front dwelling unit has a parking space in the back. So if we're going to create now reciprocal easements, we're going to have to create. So right now he or she parks their car, walks to the front and walks into their unit.
Hold you a second. Could you pull up the site plan on the screen just so we can follow along?
Okay.
Okay.
So as you can see, there are two parking spaces in the back, one for the rear unit and one for the front unit. And so in order for and right now, the front unit parks his or her car in the back, walks down the laneway and into the front of the building. If we were to create, based on the principle that you want to have access along that entire interlock on either side, we would be creating reciprocal easements so that not only could the back unit walk to his unit from the street, the front unit would walk to their unit from the back. And really that wasn't the intent of it wasn't the intent of the application. The intent of the application is to create two clear conveyable properties that will have their own access without the requirement for that type of reciprocal additional sets of easements on the property. So the rear unit functions, the front unit now functions quite well, or access walking down the driveway. We believe once that that interlock in the back is put in place, similar to the front, that there will be no issues. And you know, if there is trespassing, it will be dealt with between neighbors, to be honest with you.
Understood. Okay. Any final comments or questions from our panel members? None? Okay. We'll reserve the decision. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the panel.
Okay, and that concludes this hearing. It is adjourned. Thank you very much.